please forgive me if I don't make too long a statement tonight because of the overwhelming sort of circumstances.
What if I told you that Africa's greatest battle wasn't fought with guns or cannons? That the continent was conquered without a single shot fired on its soil? Before foreign powers drew lines across its heartbeat, Africa thrived with kingdoms, trade routes, empires, and cultures as diverse as the stars. Then, late in the 19th century, a storm brewed in Europe that would steal a continent, cold, calculated, and brutal. The Berlin Conference, Africa left out. In 1884, in a chilly hall in Berlin, Europe's strongest leaders convened to determine the fate of a continent they barely understood. This is a tale of betrayal, greed, and the partitioning of Africa, without any African voice present. By the late 1800s, Europe was desperate for rubber, gold, ivory, and power. The Industrial Revolution demanded new resources. Empires hungered for expansion. Africa, immense and resource-rich, became the prize. In November 1884, German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck summoned 14 European countries and the United States to Berlin. Their mission: prevent conflict among themselves by slicing up Africa like a cake. No African rulers were invited. No kings, no chiefs, no elders. The continent's future was redrawn with no African input. Borders ignored existing cultures, languages, and histories. Britain took control of East and Southern Africa. France claimed the West. Belgium, under King Leopold II, seized the Congo, not for the country, but for his personal empire. Africa was carved up like a feast on a platter. Leopold named it the Congo Free State, but it was anything but free. His agents brutally severed the hands of workers who failed to meet rubber quotas. 10 million lives were lost in one of history's overlooked genocides. African kingdoms sent envoys, penned letters, and begged for peace. They were dismissed. Their voices fell on deaf ears. Their lands, cultures, and sovereignties were reduced to profit zones. By 1900, over 90% of Africa was under European control. Entire civilizations were uprooted, languages banned, traditions vilified. But the seeds of resistance were already sprouting. Africa was excluded from the table, but it was on the menu. The Berlin Conference set the stage for a century of suffering, resistance, and survival. But this is far from the end. To understand Africa today, we must confront the lies of its past. How Africa fought back. Ethiopia and Adwa, 1896. But Africa did not kneel quietly. In the highlands of Ethiopia, Emperor Menelik II read every treaty, learned every trick. At Adwa in 1896, he did what no one expected. He defeated Italy. His army, united by pride and terrain, shattered European arrogance. For the first time, a black nation stood tall and victorious. West African defiance. In the West, Samurai Touré rose like a storm. For 16 years, he battled France with tactics and intellect. In Zazo, Queen Amina had already built fortified cities and led armies long before Europe arrived. In 1900, Queen Mother Ya Asantewa of the Ashanti declared, "If the men will not fight, we will." And she did, leading a rebellion that echoed like thunder across time. Southern and Central resistance. At Isandlwana, Zulu warriors crushed British rifles with courage and cunning. In Namibia, Herero and Nama peoples faced extermination. Poisoned wells, starvation, death marches. And still, they resisted. In Tanzania, the Maji Maji warriors believed holy water would protect them from bullets. Even in despair, unity burned bright. And in the Horn of Africa, Muhammad Abdullah Hassan's dervish state stood defiant for 21 years. Not even bombs from British planes could break Somali resolve. Divide and rule 1. Manipulating identities. When brute force failed, colonizers turned to manipulation. They drew borders like scars, splitting tribes and lumping strangers together. In Rwanda, Belgian ID cards labeled people as Hutu or Tutsi, labels that would explode into genocide decades later. In Nigeria, they appointed loyal chiefs and ignored ancient traditions. They turned diversity into division, on purpose. 2. Cultural erasure and secret resistance. They didn't just steal land, they tried to steal memory. Schools erased ancestors, taught foreign kings, shamed native tongues. Churches burned sacred shrines, but Africa remembered. Griots told forbidden stories. Secret schools passed on truth. Through poetry, prayer, and whispers in the dark, resistance lived on. Economic exploitation and legacy. 1. Resource extraction. They said they came to civilize, but they came to steal. Gold, diamonds, rubber, cocoa, cotton. Africa's riches filled European vaults. Railways were built, not for people, but for cargo, from mines to ships. 2. Unfair systems persist. After independence, the flags changed, but the chains often stayed. Taxes and debt replaced whips. Trade deals favored Europe. In Francophone Africa, the CFA franc still ties economies to Paris. Colonization never truly left. It just changed form. The wounds we carry. Chun, psychological chains. Physical chains can be broken. Mental ones? They linger. Many were taught to hate their skin, doubt their worth. White is better, whispered the colonized mind. That poison still echoes today. 2. Language and identity. Colonial languages replaced stories. Identity dissolved into foreign syllables. Schools taught lies. Your ancestors were savages. The pyramids? Not yours. They never mentioned the libraries of Timbuktu, the queens of Kush, or the scientists of Mali. But we must. Awakening and Renaissance. 1. Cultural revival. Africa is remembering. Youth are reclaiming their mother tongues, reviving rituals, restoring stolen stories. They are saying, no more lies, no more shame, no more silence. 2. Creative explosion. From Nollywood to Afrobeats, Africa now tells its own stories. In Nairobi, Lagos, Accra, tech hubs rise, ideas blossom. Solutions are local. Innovation is African. 3. Political and economic power. The African Union seeks unity. Trade pacts grow. Movements rise, demanding reparations, justice, truth. This is not a continent of victims, but of visionaries. They tried to bury us, with conquest, with genocide, with lies, but they didn't know. We were seeds, and now we rise. From the ashes, from the silence, from the wounds, we rise. How Europe got rich, while Africa bled. They built empires from our suffering. Walk through the streets of London, Paris, Brussels today, and you'll see beauty. Tall cathedrals, marble palaces, art museums holding stolen African masks as curiosities. But behind that, beauty lies a history drenched in blood. The sugar plantations of the Caribbean, the rubber plantations of Congo, the diamond mines of South Africa, the gold of Ghana, the slaves exported by the millions. Each coin in Europe's vaults was soaked in the labor of African backs. When King Leopold II of Belgium enslaved Congo, over 10 million Congolese were killed, many for failing rubber quotas. When the British looted Benin in 1897, they stole thousands of priceless artworks, some still locked in European museums today. These weren't just acts of theft. They were the foundation of modern Europe's wealth. While Africa bled, Europe industrialized. While African children starved, European cities lit up with electricity built on African resources. So ask yourself, how did they get rich so fast? They didn't work for it. They stole it. Independence? Or another form of control? Then came the so-called independence movements. Flags were raised, national anthems composed, presidents sworn in, but beneath the surface, nothing truly changed. Europe may have left physically, but they never let go economically. They created puppet governments, leaders trained in European capitals. They set up systems where African nations still exported raw materials, while Europe sold back finished products at 10 times the price. They signed trade deals that kept Africa poor. They sponsored coups against leaders who refused to obey. From Patrice Lumumba in Congo to Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso. They even created neo-colonial currencies like the CFA franc, still controlled by France today. So, was Africa ever really free? Or did we just trade chains or contracts? Africa's fight to rise again. But Africa was never truly defeated. From the ashes of colonization rose a new generation. Dreamers, fighters, teachers, revolutionaries. Wangari Maathai, Kwame Nkrumah, Steve Biko, Haile Selassie, Fela Kuti. They didn't just speak, they roared. Today, Africa is rewriting its story through music, film, science, and technology. Youth are rising, creating their own apps, building empires, reclaiming spiritual roots. African thinkers are questioning everything we were taught. African farmers are reclaiming land. From Lagos to Addis Ababa, from Johannesburg to Dakar, the rhythm of rebirth is undeniable. The world once came to take from Africa. Now, the world is watching Africa rise. But the journey is far from over. This is a call to remember, to rebuild, to rise. Because Africa isn't a victim. Africa is a mother of civilization, and she is coming back for her children. This is the true story of how Europe stole Africa, and how Africa never stopped fighting to take it back. Share this. Pass it on. Let the world remember.